The Bride Who Vanished. It was June 2025, a beautiful summer evening. The kind of evening where the air feels warm and heavy, yet carries a strange stillness, almost like the world itself was holding its breath. My best friend, Lisa, was getting married, and everyone was buzzing with excitement. The venue was perfect, a grand hall with high ceilings, crystal chandeliers hanging from above, golden lights reflecting off every polished surface, and white flowers draped elegantly across every table. Guests whispered and laughed, their voices bouncing softly against the walls, creating an almost magical hum. It felt like a dream, or perhaps a scene straight out of a magazine. The ceremony began as expected. Lisa walked down the aisle, wearing a stunning white gown that shimmered under the lights. Her veil floated delicately, and her smile, radiant, wide, perfect, lit up the room. But something about her felt off. Not the groom, not the decorations, not even the music. It was Lisa herself. Her smile looked too wide, too rehearsed. My stomach twisted as a strange unease settled in my chest. I shrugged it off, telling myself she was just nervous, that weddings could be overwhelming. The priest approached, and it was time for her to recite her vows. She paused, a small hesitation that at first seemed harmless, but then she whispered something strange. Not the words she had rehearsed, not the soft, nervous tone of a bride. A deeper, layered voice, almost like something was beneath her skin speaking. The sound resonated unnaturally, a subtle distortion that made me flinch. I blinked rapidly, trying to convince myself I was imagining it. Then I noticed it, the reflection in her eyes, shadows flickering, moving strangely, not in sync with the light. My breath caught. Something behind her, or inside her, was moving differently than the world around her. The room seemed to quiet itself without anyone realizing it. Guests' laughter sounded distant, as though underwater. By the time the reception started, the oddness had escalated. Lisa barely spoke to anyone, her movements stiff, mechanical, like a puppet controlled by an invisible hand. I tried to approach her, but the moment our eyes met, she locked onto me with a stare that sent shivers down my spine. The smile she wore now, it wasn't happy. It was warning. It was laughing. And it was meant for me. Around 11 p.m., a scream echoed from the upstairs hall. Panic spread through the guests like wildfire. People ran toward the sound, chairs scraping loudly across the polished floor. The room she had been occupying moments ago was empty. Just her dress lying neatly on the floor. No Lisa. My heart hammered so hard I thought it might burst from my chest. I rushed toward the room, my hands trembling. I could hear the whispers of guests behind me, their panic growing louder with each passing second. The air felt colder now, unnaturally so, as if the warmth of the evening had vanished. I peered into the doorway. Empty. No Lisa. Just the white gown, pristine and eerie under the dim lighting, as if it had been waiting for someone or something to emerge from it. Security footage later revealed something even more terrifying. Lisa had left the building at exactly 11:47 p.m., but behind her, a shadow. Tall, dark, moving in ways that defied logic, almost like it wasn't fully part of the world. The last frame froze her head turning slightly, that same twisted, inhuman smile curling across her lips. And then she was gone. Even now, months later, I replay that night in my mind, the way her eyes flickered unnaturally, the mechanical stiffness of her movements, the distorted voice layered beneath her own, and most chillingly, the memory of her smile, wide, perfect, wrong. I've tried to rationalize it. A prank, a hallucination, exhaustion, alcohol. But none of it fits. No one else saw the shadows the way I did. No one else felt the icy grip that wrapped around my chest when our eyes met. The hall itself seems to remember. When I revisit the venue, a faint sense of unease clings to the air. The chandeliers glint differently, the golden light seeming dimmer, softer, like they are hiding secrets in the reflections. Sometimes I swear I see a fleeting shadow out of the corner of my eye, moving just like Lisa did that night. But when I turn, nothing is there. Just silence. I have nightmares about it, about her, about the smile. Every detail is burned into my memory, the rustle of her gown, the way the chandelier light glinted across her eyes, the distant echo of whispers I swear were saying my name. And every time I close my eyes, I see her reflection in mirrors, slightly delayed, slightly wrong, staring directly at me. People move on from weddings, people move on from friends' weddings, but I can't. I can't forget. I can't forgive, and I can't explain what happened that night. Whatever left with Lisa, whatever took her, is still out there, watching, waiting. To this day, her disappearance remains unsolved. Police found no evidence, no footprints, no signs of struggle. Only that dress, only those crystal chandeliers, golden lights and shadows flickering where they shouldn't, and the memory of a smile, wide, wrong, and forever haunting. The groom's secret. It was a rainy November evening. The kind of night that feels calm and cozy at first. My cousin Daniel was getting married to Emily that day. The venue was a small but elegant hall just outside the city. Inside, everything was beautifully arranged. Deep red roses lined the aisle, candles flickered softly on each table, and a chandelier gave off a warm golden light. Outside, the rain tapped gently against the windows. Most of the guests had already taken their seats, chatting quietly while waiting for the ceremony to begin. Everything felt normal. When Daniel walked in, he looked the part. Clean black suit, neat hair, calm expression. But something about him felt distant. Not nervous, not excited, just slightly off. Emily stood at the front in her white dress, smiling softly as she waited. When Daniel looked at her, he smiled too, but it didn't feel as warm as it should have been. The ceremony began. The priest spoke clearly. While the sound of rain filled the background, Emily said her vows first, her voice steady, emotional. Then it was Daniel's turn. He paused. At first it seemed normal, but the silence lasted longer than expected. Then he spoke. His voice sounded slightly different, a bit deeper, slower. Emily looked at him for a moment, confused, but the ceremony continued. Soon enough, they were declared husband and wife. Everyone clapped. The reception started shortly after. Music played softly. Guests moved around, talking and laughing. Everything seemed normal again, but Daniel, he didn't stay in one place for long. At one point, he stood quietly at the side of the hall, just watching the crowd. Then, he walked away. A few minutes later, Emily started looking for him. She called his name once, then again. Some guests laughed, thinking nothing of it. Then suddenly, Daniel was behind her. No one noticed where he came from. He leaned in and whispered something. Emily's expression changed slightly, not dramatic, just enough to notice. His hand rested on her arm. A few seconds too long. Then he let go and walked away again. After that, things became harder to explain. Daniel wasn't easy to find. People said they had seen him, but when you looked, he wasn't there. Curious, I stepped away and checked the security monitor. I wasn't expecting anything unusual, but I paused. Daniel was standing in the middle of the hall, completely still, but his shadow, looked different. It stretched across the floor at an odd angle, longer than it should have been. At first, I thought it was the lighting, but then it shifted, even when he didn't. For a moment, it didn't match him at all, and just for a second, it looked like there was something else inside it. Then it was gone. When I returned, Emily looked uneasy. "I can't find him," she said quietly. Before anyone could respond, Daniel appeared again, like nothing had happened. Guests started noticing now. Something felt off. Then he disappeared again. This time, no one could find him. The music stopped. People started asking questions. Staff searched the building, but there was no clear answer. Emily eventually left, shaken. The event ended early. Later, security checked the footage. There was no moment showing Daniel leaving. He was there, and then he wasn't. Only that one detail remained, his shadow, not matching him. It's been a few months now. No one has explained what happened. Daniel was never found, and the wedding is something no one talks about anymore. Sometimes I still think about that night, not because it was terrifying, but because it didn't make sense, and somehow that feels worse. The wedding guest who didn't belong. It was a warm June afternoon, the kind of day that feels perfect in every possible way. Clear skies, soft sunlight, a gentle breeze moving through the garden. My sister had spent months planning her wedding, and now everything was finally coming together. The chapel was small, but beautiful. Stained glass windows, wooden pews, soft light spilling across the room. Family and friends filled the seats, talking, laughing, completely unaware of what was about to happen. At first, everything felt normal, too normal. Looking back now, I think that was the first sign. The ceremony started. Music played as my sister walked down the aisle. She looked happy, calm, like nothing in the world could go wrong. And then I noticed him, sitting in the very last pew, alone, a man I had never seen before. At first, I didn't think much of it. People show up late to weddings all the time. But something about him felt off. He was tall, thin, dressed completely in black. Not formal black, not wedding black, more like funeral black. His skin looked pale, not just light, but drained, like he hadn't seen sunlight in years. I scanned the room again, trying to figure out who he was, maybe from the groom's side, maybe a distant relative, but no one looked at him, no one greeted him, no one even seemed to notice he was there. It was like he didn't exist, except to me. I leaned toward my sister when I could, trying to keep my voice low. "Do you know the guy in the back?" She hesitated, just for a second. "What guy?" I gestured slightly behind us. She glanced, then looked back at me and gave a small laugh. "You're imagining things," she whispered. But I wasn't. He was still there. And now, he was looking directly at me. I felt my chest tighten. His eyes didn't blink, didn't move, just locked onto mine. Then his head tilted slowly, too slowly, at an angle that didn't feel human. I froze. Something wasn't right. Something was very wrong. After that, I couldn't focus on the ceremony anymore. Every time I looked back, he was watching. Not just me, everyone, the bride, the groom, the guests, like he was studying them. The air in the room started to feel different, heavy, thick, like something invisible had settled over the chapel. The candles near the altar flickered, but there was no wind. Shadows stretched along the walls, moving slightly, even when nothing else did. Then I noticed his body. It started small, a slight sway, but then it got worse. His shoulders jerked, his posture shifted in ways that didn't make sense, like his body wasn't working properly. I gripped the pew in front of me. My hands were shaking. No one else reacted, no one else saw it, or maybe they couldn't. Eventually, the ceremony ended, and for a moment, I felt relief, but it didn't last. The reception was outside, music, laughter, drinks. Everything felt normal again on the surface, but then I saw him, standing at the edge of the crowd, alone, watching, always watching. I tried to ignore it, tried to act normal, but I could feel it, that feeling of being watched. Then things started happening. A glass slid off a table, slowly, like it had been pushed. Candles flickered again, harder this time. A chair scraped across the ground. People noticed, but they laughed it off, blamed the wind, coincidences. I knew it wasn't. I looked back at him, and this time I saw it clearly. His shadow didn't match his body. It stretched too far, twisting across the ground in impossible ways. His arms bent slightly where they shouldn't, and his mouth was moving, whispering something. I couldn't hear it, but I could feel it, like it was right there, just out of reach. A cold wave ran through me, and then he was gone. Just gone. 1 second he was there, the next, nothing. No movement, no exit, just empty space. I stood there, completely frozen. Later that night, they checked the security footage, and that's when it got worse. There was no record of him entering, no footage, no trace, nothing. And yet, everyone remembered him. The same description, the same black clothes, the same pale face, the same feeling. That something about him wasn't human. No one talks about it now. Whenever it comes up, the conversation changes. Like people don't want to remember, but I do. I still see him sometimes, not clearly, just glimpses in reflections, in crowds, at events, places where people gather and celebrate, and every time I feel it again, that same cold weight in my chest, because deep down, I don't think he was there by accident. I think he was watching, waiting for something, and I can't shake the feeling that one day he'll show up again at another wedding, another celebration, another perfect day, right before everything goes wrong.